Saturday evening. It is almost 5:30 and I decided, in order for me to avoid some responsibilities, why not sit down and do my makeup for a video when I have absolutely nowhere to go and I have things to do? But why not just do this, and why not just do that? So I thought I could sit down, do my makeup, yap a bunch about me, who I am, things on my mind right now and whatnot. I'm not a makeup expert. I should put that as a warning. I'm not a makeup expert in the slightest, but I started learning how to do my own makeup this summer because I had 2 weddings to go to. So I've learned in no way, shape, form an expert. So I'm gonna continue saying that. Yeah, so let's get into it while I just First thing, we have to take off these glasses. I also have a mirror like right below, so I'll be looking right here to kind of do my makeup. I also can't see that well because I don't have my glasses on, and I refuse to put contacts in at this time of night. So I don't know why. First thing, we're gonna go in with some primer. So I'll be using the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, and it's the mini one that I got from Ulta because originally I was using the e.l.f. Acne Fighting Putty Primer, and I like this one. I've essentially hit pan on it, but something about the Power Grip Primer, I don't know what it is, but I really do like it. Actually, we won't go in with this first. We will first go in with the Brow Laminating Gel by e.l.f. I actually recently just did my eyebrows. Like, I bought a wax kit really for my mustache. My mom was like, don't shave it, wax it. So I waxed it a couple months ago, and tell me why that was the smoothest thing on my lip. So I said, yeah, we're waxing from here on out. We're waxing from here on out, babe. And I got this silly idea, I think this past week, and I was like, well, what if I just cut up the strips and like just wax my eyebrows? I don't think they look bad. Like, I think they look pretty fine. Obviously they don't look as good as when you go to a professional to do them, but I think they look pretty okay. But I guess if this is like a get ready with me yap session, I should probably start off with the basics. So my name is Vivian. I am 23 years old. I like to say I'm a recent college graduate, but I've been out of school for nearly 2 years. So I don't know if that still counts as recent or not, but I went to Emory University down in Atlanta, Georgia. I was there for 3.5 years. I studied psychology, and now I work, I don't think I want to say where I work. I do use my degree, I will say that. So another thing about me is I am Ugandan. Both of my parents are from Uganda. Came to America in the 90s, but with just how all of East Africa is and my mom's story, I essentially just claim all of East Africa. Like, I love Ugandans, I love Kenyans, I love Tanzanians, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, all of it. That whole east, southeast region, shout out to them. I also realized, just because I can't see, I hope my makeup doesn't look bad because I can barely see in this mirror. Anyways, so I'm Vivian, I'm 23, I'm from Uganda. I should also probably mention the reason that I'm doing this whole thing is because I am avoiding GRE test preparations. And I shouldn't be saying that, like, it sounds like a stupid and silly thing to say, but I have not taken a test in nearly 2 years. Like, literally 2 years I have not taken a test. My last exam was December of 2022, a couple weeks before I graduated. I have yet to take an exam aside from the pre-GRE test that I took, and the score was humbling. And if you're wondering why is she talking about GRE, why is she talking about GRE, I'm hoping to go into grad school within the next couple of years. So I obviously want to take the GRE and the GRE psych test now so that later on I can worry about my application and things like that. So I am avoiding it. I have a test prep thing that I have to sign up for, and then I get the schedule for the test, or the schedule for the classes and things like that. So I'll probably do that tonight. Honestly, I really can't avoid it anymore. So I'm just gonna need to do that tonight. Another thing about me is I like to read. I got into reading at the end of 2020 /2021, and I hate to say it, I really do, but I started reading all those like BookTok books. Like, when BookTok really blew up, I was there. I was getting influenced, the whole 9. Now I'm gonna go in with the e.l.f. Power Grip now because my eyebrows are done. But yeah, I was in that BookTok section in 2021. Shout out booktok 2021, because lives were changed, bro. The influence that booktok 2021 had was crazy. 2021 were such influential years. 2020 was the year that I found God. 2021 is when I really started the walk with Christ, like super heavily. And I also started reading. So I guess that's another thing about me. I am a Christian. I literally cannot explain to people like how serious I am about that term, and it's not something I take lightly. Like when I say I was on the verge of death and then I met Jesus and now I have abundant life, I am not joking in any type of way. I did such a good job growing up of really masking my feelings and masking who I was to the world. You know, I'm a middle child. As a middle child, you can kind of just always feel irrelevant or just ignored, or like your feelings just don't matter. Growing up, I had always felt that way. When I was in college, I really was in a dark place that first semester of college, and then randomly I went on TikTok at the time, came across Christian TikTok, and it is a story from there. I want to sit down and give my testimony one day, like recorded version. When that is going to be, I don't know, but I believe the Bible is 100% true. I believe Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is 100% God and came down and saved those of all who believed. So that is a big part of who I am. I am still growing, I'm still being sanctified, but I would not be here without God. Now we're gonna go in with our tried and true combo right here. Maybelline Fit Me powder. I've had this for years. I won't even tell you. I've had that for years. So now that we primed our face, I'm gonna go in with the powder and I'm gonna put it on smile lines and forehead lines. Somebody told me that that was a good way to kind of make sure that those lines don't appear under your foundation. I'm wearing white. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to wear white. I feel like I look best in white, but not for makeup. So I am a Christian. I like to read. Okay, circling back to reading, because I have some big things on my mind about reading lately. So I'm also gonna go in with this from Elle. Anyways, I started reading in 2020/2021. I started, my first book that I read was Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us. And I don't say that as like some type of like hoorah, because now I don't enjoy Colleen Hoover books. The last Colleen Hoover book I read was maybe in 2022, the beginning of was it 2022 or the end of 2021? One of those. And if you ask me now what I would rate her books, I would love to read her backlist again, being the reader that I am now, and give a genuine rating, because the way I was dishing out 5 stars for her is crazy, okay? The way I was dishing out 5 stars for Miss Hoover, like, would I do that again? Absolutely not. So I started reading It Ends With Us. I cried during that book. Again, if you ask me now to read it again, I would probably just pick it apart, like do a thorough analysis, because some of her books, I don't know what the frick she was doing, but some of her books, we gotta discuss. So I read heavily from 2020 to like the end of 2021. And then in 2022, I literally stopped reading. I think it was just the busyness of school and everything like that. Like, it was just honestly a lot going on. I was graduating at the end of that year, so I really had to focus. I was taking classes. I had internships, classes, a job. It was so much. We're gonna go in with these two. So my issue with these two, a couple months ago in May, I think, I got skin matched, and they skin matched me with the Lancome tint, the Idol tint, the Tint Idol Ultra Wear in the shade 530W. Now, when I put this shade on, this was at the beginning of summer. It was too light. Like, it wasn't too light. Like, it was definitely a base that you could warm up, which was fine. That was completely fine. But I don't like to do makeup like often, so when I do, I don't want to have to do a lot, because I don't know how to do a lot. So I realized I also had this e.l.f. foundation that I have had for years, but it's too dark. I mix these two and I kind of get this nice foundation that I'm okay with. I'm okay with how I look in this foundation. My issue is the oh my god. Hello. I'm back. I was on the phone with one of my childhood friends, so I need to hurry up. It's 6 o'clock. What was I even talking about? I was definitely talking about books, wasn't I? Oh, I got skin matched. Yeah, the last time I wore this was at the beginning of summer. Since I've been out, in the sun, at the beach, whatever. So I'm a little bit interested to see how these two will look, but we'll try it. I was talking about books. This whole multitasking thing is literally making my brain fart so bad. Like, I legit cannot even I can't do this. So I did 2 pumps of each. Hopefully that's okay. So yeah, I read books. So I read a whole bunch of Colleen Hoover books. Oh yes, I took a break from reading. I think I mentioned this. I took a break from reading because of school, but I got back into it in 2023. 2023, I read 3 books the entire year. 3 books. Yeah, those were good books. I just wasn't in a reading mood last year probably, but thank God this year I got back into my reading mood. After I came back from my missions trip to Kenya in February, I started reading again in March, at the end of March, and I read a book that I actually had with me in my apartment that I've had for literally years that I just haven't gotten to reading yet, and that book was The Stationery Shop. I read it. I had such high expectations for this book and it let me down. What I'm realizing as like being a reader, I take the ending, like the last 30% of a book matters so much to me. If a book cannot get it together, you can't wrap a book up, you can lose 2 stars with me flat. Like, I don't care if I love the first 50% of the book. It matters so much how you wrap a book up. So the ending of that book, it just felt so, I don't know what it was. I just was not here for it. I was not here for the end of that book. It just was like, no way. Like, it just felt like we were rushing to end it. That book, it frustrates me. Every single time I read that, every single time I think about that book, it frustrates me so bad. And I try not to think about it often, genuinely. I really do. I really try not to think about it often. So foundation is on, the coverage, get into it. I am currently in the midst of 2 books. So the first is Caught Up by Liz Tomford. It's the 3rd book in the Windy City series. And I also started listening to Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, which I've heard a lot about both of these books, but I don't know if it's like, maybe I'm just in a romance reading slump, but nothing is eating. I did also recently get a Kindle. So when I got my Kindle, I started the 1st book of the Windy City series because everybody was talking about it, and I was like, okay, like, I just got this Kindle, let me read it. I don't know if it was the hype of the Kindle, if it was everybody saying, oh, this is the worst book in the series, like there are 4 books out now, this is the worst one, but keep reading, like it gets great, it gets good, it gets better. I don't know what it was, but I read Mile High, which is the 1st book, and it devoured, absolutely ate. The fact that people actually were saying that this was the worst book of the series, I'm like, are you guys literally kidding me? I'm reading this book and I'm like, I was just so shocked by how good it was. I love Stevie as a character. I love Xander's as a character. I love their like coming together. I love the progression from lust to love. There was a plot, right? There were these main things that we were following, but we didn't have, and I realized as a reader, I don't like when there is this like central thing that's gonna happen in a book. For example, the 2nd book in that series, The Right Move, the whole point of that book is fake dating, and they fake date because her ex cheated on her, and now her friend group, Indy's friend group, is having a wedding. So the wedding is this kind of like point, and so everything is leading up to the wedding. I don't like that. Like, I don't like knowing what is gonna happen or like what's a big event. It was this big event, like the wedding, and then we get to the wedding, and then there's still more plot. I said, what the heck is going on? Like, have we not covered everything that we needed to cover? Have we not figured things out by now? I don't know. And people saying that The Right Move was their favorite book, that's great if that's your favorite book. It was not my favorite book. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm like in the midst of a book slump, but I started this series because I wanted to read Caught Up, because Maya Beatrice read Caught Up and she was crying. So I said, okay, period, let me read Caught Up. Then everybody was saying, oh, no, read the whole series. Like, it's actually a really good series. So I said, okay, fine. Read the 1st book, expectations were so low. Then I read the 2nd book, expectations were so high because everybody was saying this is my favorite book of the series, Indy and Ryan. Then when I got to the end of The Right Move, an 18-minute epilogue? An 18-minute epilogue? Are we okay? Let me just tell you, 18 minutes is too freaking long for an epilogue. Anyways, when I'm done with that series, I'm gonna just jump into a different genre. Right now, my next read is Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom. I actually have the arc of that book, not because it was given to me, but because I worked at a bookstore back in 2021 and I basically got that book for free. It's from the perspective of Benji. He is one of a couple people who are in this lifeboat after a yacht sinks and they pull this stranger atop of the lifeboat and he claims to be God. So there's that. I'm excited to read it. I'm not too sure how I'll feel about it, but going with our blush, we'll put blush and then we'll put concealer on top of that and then let it sit. For blush, I do a funny method. I have this red lipstick that I use. I kind of brush it onto my brush and then I kind of do whatever. I also have this e.l.f. camo concealer in, I think it's called Coming in Hot Pink. And I realized I have to do blush before concealer because the blush is just a little too much. It's gonna look like I'm sick. What else can I talk about? I don't know. Why does this kind of look good? Now we are gonna go in with NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealers in Deep and Cappuccino. We're just gonna do a little bit. Oh, I can't see. Then I'm gonna spray my face again. For my setting spray, I use the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. That cost me 2 of my arms and both of my legs. It can't be good for me to be inhaling on my... I don't know if that's an important thing to mention, but I'm single, I'm not dating anybody, I'm not married. I am a single Christian lady. That in and of itself, it's not a bad thing, right? I'm very grateful that I have this time in my life and I can intentionally be single. Am I hopeful to be married one day and to have kids one day? Yes. But at the same time, I, number one, don't want to have marriage as an idol. And I realized that once I got into my late teens, and obviously I'm still in my early 20s, but like not even marriage, but I would say dating itself can be such an idol. But I feel like it's an idol because of the aesthetic. Now, is dating a good thing? I would say yes. You get to learn more about somebody. You get to figure out whether or not you want to spend your life with them. I think at the same time, I can often find myself getting so warped up in the aesthetics of dating that I often forget what its purpose is. And then I often forget what the purpose of marriage is. And then I focus more on the aesthetics of marriage. And then I get so warped, I'm like, God, like, I want this and you're not giving it to me. And the whole time he's like, I want to focus on your heart. Like, I want you to be ready. I want you to be ready. And I want you to be content now with me. And I don't want you to go into this thing putting another human's feelings and another human's emotions on the line because you're not content with me. Like, you don't know your identity because of who I am and all these different things. I think it can be hard, obviously, in this day and age being single, but I think it can also be beneficial to be single in this day and age because you get to learn more about your identity. I can't even say, especially if you're a Christian, as an individual, you cannot know how you were created unless you understand there was a God who created you and he knit you together and he made everything happen in the way that it happened while you were in your mother's womb. The idea of you, the consciousness of you, like all of that happened by his supernatural hand. It's interesting because like I didn't know that, and then I started to read more about God. I started to more about his character, and in that I started to realize who I am and who I'm supposed to be. Like things as little as like how God created me. Am I an introvert? Why do I like things this way? These characteristics that he has put in me, figuring out how those characteristics were put into me to glorify him. Anyways, I did not come here to be a preacher, but I think it's so neat to be single in this day and age. But also, like, it was hard. It's definitely hard to be a single person in this day and age because number one, the temptation to just bow out can be great. To bow out and just like be like, all right, like I'll take anything at this point. It's not even funny. Like, I'm not joking when I say there are times when I'm literally like, all right, Lord, like anything at this point. Anything at this point. I don't know. And I think especially being somebody who reads romance books and is a Christian, the bar keeps growing. The bar keeps growing so much so to where I'm like, Lord, am I genuinely asking for so much? But then I have to sit and realize, no, I'm not asking for a lot. I'm asking for a man who is willing to be my partner in life. A man who is willing to submit himself to God. I will never be like, you know, oh, like everything a man can do, I can do. I know that there are things that a man can do that I can't do. Like, I know that there are things that I can do that men can't do. And I know that men and women need one another. So I don't ever want to get to a point of being like, oh, well, I don't need a man and da 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 da. Do I need a man to literally breathe and survive? No. Do I want a man? Yeah, I will. So being single in this culture is a lot, but glory be to God that He knows exactly the time and place for things. I'm so grateful to God that He didn't intend for us to be alone. He knows that some of us, maybe most of us, are going to be married one day, and yet He's been so intentional about that process. When you really lean into Him, wanting to be married, taking those desires to God, and like being upfront and not being like me, who would often, I would try to sanctify my own self, and I find myself doing that still, and I need to repent and like lean into God's word and trust God fully in the sanctification process. But when I say that, I mean I will have a desire or have a thought or have a want, and I will dwindle it down immediately before I even pray about it. I'll be out, I'll see a couple, and in my head I'm like, oh man, I want that to be me, or I wish that was me. Instead of just praying and being like, Lord, here are my feelings, like this is how I'm feeling, God. You know, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling bitter, I'm feeling envious, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling hopeless, I'm feeling hopeful. Like any of those emotions, before taking it to God, I'll be like, well, I don't need to feel like that anyways. And I'm like, well, you can try to ignore the fact that you're feeling like this. It doesn't negate the fact that you are feeling like this, and if you don't address those problems, they're just gonna come up again. In the whole process of waiting and like dating, I know for myself I want to be more reliant on God about just waiting and waiting well. There would be times where I'm trying to convince myself, oh no, like you don't want to get married. Yes, I do. I do want to get married. I do want to be a mom. I do want to be a wife. I do want to have a husband to do life with. Like, I do want these things. Like, I don't need to try to gaslight myself into saying, oh, you don't want this. Girl, yes, I do. You and I both know we want this. And God knows you want this. There's no need to lie. As if that's going to reverse psychology God and being like, okay, so she must not want it here. It's giving manipulator a little. It's just giving a little bit manipulator. Just a little bit. I do want to try the NYX brow gel, which I've heard great things about. The yapper is running out of things to talk about. Bruh, I'm running out of things to talk about, for real. I can kind of talk about why I sort of made this channel. And it was essentially like 2024 has literally been one of the best years of my life. And that is so crazy because I don't think I've ever had a year where I've been like, this year has been one of the best years of my life. I don't say that because I got a lot of things. I say that because so many things happened this year. Things that I wouldn't have done if it hadn't literally been for God. And I'm not joking in any degree when I say that. I started the year off, I won't even say this is the apartment of my dreams, but if y'all could have seen where I was living at before, the amount of times I was calling my mother and being like, I cannot wait to move out of here. I literally was in that apartment January and March. I'm talking about I can't wait to move out. Babe, you've only been there for 2.5 months. You've literally only been here for 2.5 months. What do you mean you can't wait till you move out? So I started the year moving into this apartment. I absolutely love this apartment. I love the city that I'm in. I am not a city person at all. It's so funny because my sister is a city person. Like, she loves the city and I am a suburban girl. I will not even joke about that. I love me suburbia. I love me a neighborhood. I love me a development. Like, I know I'm in my 20s. Okay, I know I'm in my 20s. I'm supposed to be like a city girl. I'm not. I'm a homebody. The most city vibe about this apartment is that it's near a fire department. So whenever they go out, you can hear it. That's literally the most city thing. And I absolutely love it. I love that people raise their kids here. I love that families are here. I love that older individuals live here. Like, I love that it's not exclusively like 20-something-year-old. I don't know. Personally, I love it. I completely love it. I moved into this apartment. Second biggest thing that I did this year was go on a mission trip. That mission trip changed my life. I made friendships and relationships, got to see God's people in another country. It was honestly the best thing I've ever done in my life. I had such a heart for missions at the end of 2023, and the fact that God was so intentional about allowing me to go on a missions trip within 6 months of me like actually saying like, man, I really want to do missions, like crazy in and of itself. Like in and of itself, that was so wild to me. Fully funded too, fully funded. Another thing that I did this year was I went on a speed dating thing. Now, before you say anything, 2023 Vivian would not have even entertained the thought of doing such a thing. I think I've moved in faith this year a lot more. And the funny thing is, like, I've told people, like, I want to have more faith. I want to have more faith. And I think about these things that God has allowed me to do. And they took faith. Like, they took faith. Little moments where God has called you to just, like, trust Him. Like, you don't have to have the full picture. You can take a chill pill. Like, my siblings would probably say I'm type A. Like, I can relax because I know that God has my best intentions in mind. I started getting closer to friends at church. 2023, I felt like I had absolutely no friends in the new area. Now I have, like, I'm meeting people know me, people recognize me, people are saying hello. Like, I have to sit and be like, Lord, like, this is so crazy. Like, I thought I would just always hate this place, and now I don't. Like, that's crazy. Now I really don't. Next, we're gonna go in with this. And the year isn't even over. I felt like June was such a fun month too. Like, I felt like I did a lot of fun things. This year has just been amazing. Like, it's just been so cool. This year, I've done so many things that I would not have done last year or in years prior, just because I wasn't moving in faith. And I don't know if this will amount to anything. Like, I'm not making this to be like the most watched, but I don't want to not do something that I want to do. I don't want to live so timidly. Like, I think the whole nature of like recording just your life and looking back in 10 years and looking to see what was so important to you to say or think, even if you're not the most like it girl or aesthetic. There are YouTubers that I watch and I'm like, bruh, don't say you're boring. Like, you're here I'm here for you. I'm really here for you. Last two things are gonna be my eyelashes and my lips. I still don't have a lip routine. I wanna get the Ryan Destiny lip kit from MAC. Somebody did it and it literally looks so good. Yeah, so that's kind of the whole reason why. But, oh my gosh, this is my hot take. This is my hot take of the video. Happy Place by Emily Henry was not good. Do not shoot the messenger. Do not shoot the messenger. It wasn't good to me, okay? It wasn't good for me. I did not enjoy it. It was not good at all. I don't know what it is. And I think about how this book could have been better. Like, the fact that I'm leaving a book and I'm thinking about how it could have been better is crazy to me. It's so weird because I read Beach Read in 2021. I absolutely loved Beach Read. I loved the story. I love January. I love Gus. Like, I don't know if I just could not relate to our main character or what. And I realized that that is such a big thing for me as a reader, to relate to the main character, which then again, it's like super subjective. My lips are so dry. That's super subjective because not every book that you read, you're gonna relate to the characters. But yeah, it was Emily Henry's first book where
we do not care.
Your closest friends of 10 years aren't gonna figure out that you guys aren't together. If I have a friend of 10 years and she can't figure out whether or not the man that I have been with for 8 of those 10 years and I aren't together, we've got bigger fish to fry. The way Harriet would have gotten away with first-degree murder and everybody would have just been by her side is crazy. Sabrina cleared Harriet out, and I stand by her. I stand by everything she said. I stand by everything Sabrina said. 80% is actually when this book should have ended. Like, there was no need for me to still have like an hour, 2 hours left of this book. Please tell me what that is. My lip pencil just busted. I'm literally gonna try to use the tip that just broke off. I think the last thing I can end with is a book or book series that I'm excited to read this year. A series or a book I'm excited to read is probably Pachinko. I've had for literally the past year or 2 years. Shout out to my brother, he bought that for me for my birthday. I don't know if I'm excited for any series. I did want to read Elsie Silver's Chestnut Spring series. I hear it can get a little bit vulgar. We're gonna have to tread carefully. Obviously, and use discernment too. We gotta skip a book, child. So I think this is actually the final look. You guys, I can't believe I did that. That is crazy that I just sat here for the past 2 hours. Yeah, so a couple things that I'm excited for to read Pachinko and just other literary fiction books. I think I've just become a little bit burnt out with romance. I want something that is going to challenge me as a reader, and I'll also like something I'll also enjoy. So I'm interested to read Pachinko. I've heard great things about it. More Christian fiction, so a lot of C.S. Lewis and Tolkien. Is it Tolkien? So those are kind of on my hit list that I want to get to. I'm gonna go through my Goodreads a little. So I want to read The Silent Patient. I've heard nothing but great things about that book. I want to read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I want to read the adult fiction of Lynn Painter in terms of romance. So the Love Wager by Lynn Painter, I've heard it was pretty good. I also have These Violent Delights, which I think is a thriller. All the Lights We Cannot See. I also want to read 7 Days in June, A Man Called Ove by Frederick Backman, Night by Elie Wiesel, Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, Walking at Night by Claire Daverly, Yours Truly, which is the second book in the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. Yeah, so that is it. This is the finished makeup look. I thought today was so fun. I will now be getting into the things that I was avoiding to do 2 hours ago, but I hope you guys had a fun time getting to know me, and we'll see what this ends up being. But till then, I will see you guys when I see you. Bye!